Glad to see you, Lightning. What have you been up to as of late? Finding any more comfort with your daily projects?
Hey, Doc. Good to see you again, too. And, well, I suppose. I love doing my work and seeing the final results, seeing others happy with it. I couldn't be any more happier with it.
And how about those who work with you? I hope you've been enjoying all the socializing in these collaborations.
I love working with people. Whether yourself or Golden Fox, Toon Critic Y2K, every pony. But Okay, none of this feels right to me right now. None of it. Should I be doing the editing for this conversation?
At this point, I'd suggest that you try to accept a bit of help from a different artist. Even before our conversation today, I was getting the sense that you're overworking yourself, Lightning. Do you think you can put aside your inner artist just this one time?
I can try, but only if the artists here accept my apologies for any inconvenience on their behalf of this conversation. I am so sorry in advance, sir or madam. Really, I know the workload of editing and creating assets for a project. It's very time-consuming and tedious, and takes up a ton of time. I truly hope I didn't interrupt any other things you could be taking a part of.
Lightning, deep breath. Like this. Can you do one of these with me?
How's that?
It's a start. Now, why do you suppose you feel the need to be in control even when others are offering to help you, Lightning? What sort of thoughts are going through your mind in those moments?
Honestly, guilt. Overwhelming guilt. And terror, I suppose. It's always been a responsibility of mine to handle my own projects and ideas. So for somebody else to take over that duty, it feels horribly wrong and... It's my responsibility, Doc. If someone else does the work, they might get it wrong. They might get it all wrong. All that script writing, voice acting, combine that all together in some blind hope that the editor will be able to read my mind on what visuals I am looking for in a project? I don't even know how you or Firebrand trust me with that kind of job. Don't you ever get worried if someone messes up the vision or the look of a project?
I'd be lying if I said that it never crossed my mind. The thought of starting an entire project over from scratch because the first result turned out completely different than anything I intended? No one wants to feel as though their efforts have been wasted. Even more so, I can understand that feeling of hesitation when you feel the need to tell someone their contributions aren't what is needed for the project. Then again, I suppose I've learned to be more open to someone else's interpretation of an idea. Oftentimes I've found that I can't really challenge myself in the long run if I'm not open to new perspectives. And so I actually encourage a lot of creativity from the artists, editors, animators, and voice actors I work with, wanting them to come up with their own interpretations every now and then, and more often than not being pleasantly surprised by what they can come up with. However, I can imagine it is a fair bit different for you, Lightning, because you are an actual artist. You are able to draw your own characters and backgrounds because you've spent decades honing your talents and thus are able to visualize what you'd want long before you start drawing it. I feel as though I have little sense on what looks good on my own, so perhaps that's why I'm better able to open up to another person's interpretation of an idea. Do you think this holds true for a lot of artists, Lightning?
Not sure, to be perfectly honest. I've collabed with a few people who are capable of their own art styles, and even provided me with their own assets, but they trusted me with how I would use them. Not with me, though. It's one thing for myself to have a tiny cameo in someone else's work where my character is used for like a few seconds, no voice acting required. There was even that one time I collabed with a person on their channel, but I insisted on they using my vectors, and I constantly checked on their progress. Constantly. Kind of like what Firebrand does with me after a project is complete for TF2. Not that I mind that with him, don't get me wrong. He wants the project to be perfect, just as much as I do. I can respect that easily. But to ask someone else to take over the editing of my project, like for my Flight of Blight special, for instance, out of the question. No one could visualize the music cues I had, or they probably couldn't pull off the animations I was looking for in the time I wanted them. If my assets aren't there for me to work with, I feel like a nerve has been exposed. Not to mention the horrible guilt factor involved.
I bet you've learned quite a lot by pushing yourself so hard to create all these art assets on your own, haven't you?
I have. That it is grinding work sometimes, and can be tedious now and then. It's acting the role and interpreting that into a character's vector, something I had to learn for over a year in college.
Well, what if you were to think about having someone help you to be less about letting go of your desire to control how it looks and more about giving someone else an opportunity to push themselves? Allow a person to learn from your example and become a teacher of sorts. I can tell you from personal experience that the creations of a student you've mentored will give a certain kind of joy that you really can't experience when just creating on your own. Have you ever taught some of the knowledge and wisdom of your artistic craft to someone else before?
Well, I have, yes. Not in our community, though. My nephew Tinderstar was one of a few homeschool students I taught in basic arts and animation. But that is completely different to here. Those are much younger minds, and I could physically be there to show them visually what I'm speaking about. For me to ask someone to learn the traits of creating and posing vectors and how I do them, I feel just awful about it. Again, it is tedious work. Work that I am more than capable of doing on my own. I'd be lazy if I did that. I'd be dumping the grinding work on another while I sat back and did nothing. That's how it feels to me. It's why I can barely stand it when someone makes title cards for my reviews, or asking that friend of mine to make custom music for my special. I could have learned how to produce music, somehow. Okay, maybe not. But still, it's work. It's all work. Work that I can handle, that I should be able to handle, not dump on someone else.
Lightning, I have no doubt that your watchers very much appreciate what you do, and I'm sure those you collaborate with are enjoying the many projects you've taken part in. But when do you suppose you'll be able to step back and take a break for a little while? I've lost count of how many messages I've received from those who want me to stop overworking all the time, and now I'm actually the one on the outside looking in, so to speak. In fact, I'm actually reminded a bit of Applebuck season right now. Do you remember that episode, Lightning?
Of course, it was one of my favorites. It actually made me chuckle, thinking that it was almost stereotyping Texas on our stubbornness and pride. But come on, Doc, I'm not being stubborn. I'm being productive, earning my keep, proving that I can handle it all.
How long do you think it'll take for you to burn out, though? Can you imagine how you'd feel if you kept this up for so long that you actually started losing some of the passion that got you started in the first place, Lightning?
I never considered that. I've had burnouts before, though. They weren't due to lack of interest or passion. I just simply felt tired-minded, that's why. Normally I got the juices flowing by doing something else. I have so many projects and ideas down or in my head that I always have something to jump back to.
But what if you didn't allow your friends to help you out every now and then? I'm sure many of them want to achieve some of the things you've accomplished as well.
I suppose so, but I wouldn't know where to give up my control. I already did that with title cards, allowing others to do that for me. I admit that feels nice. It gives me a sense that I'm giving them a chance to be a part of things with me, as well as helping them get recognized. But that's just artwork. Asking someone else to take over my audio or vector work, I don't know, Doc. I just don't know where to let go.
I suppose you're the only one who can decide that, Lightning. Just think of it like taking baby steps. Getting over a genuine fear by stepping a little bit outside of your comfort zone every now and then until you find something you can feel happy with. I know you can do so, Lightning. After all, there was a time long ago when you felt completely unwilling for anyone to see you without that thick black cloak, remember?
It was brown. Huh. Feels weird that I still remember that, like it's still there. but it's not. Perhaps it's because I create a new symbolic cloak. Sorry, I'm getting deep now. What I mean is, I guess I'm scared of change. Silly, I know. As a friendly wolf once told me, change is inevitable. Growth is optional. Maybe I could try to take a baby step or two. It can't hurt. It's just a step.
It's a lesson that we all need to learn and relearn, I suppose. Still, I'm glad to hear that you're open to new possibilities. Shall we continue on this next week?
That would be nice, but next time, I'm doing the editing. Just kidding, Doc.
Enjoy your evening, Lightning, and take care. It's good to be helping.